In 2019, the woman who knew Whitney Houston better than anyone in the world published a book. Her name was Robyn Crawford. She had been silent for almost 2 decades, watching the world tell Whitney's story, getting it wrong, and saying nothing. When she finally wrote it down, the book sold out in hours. Because Robyn Crawford didn't just know Whitney Houston. She loved her, and Whitney asked her to keep it secret. They met in 1980 at a community center in East Orange, New Jersey. Whitney Houston was 16. Robyn Crawford was 17. Whitney had not yet recorded a single song. She had not yet walked into a recording studio. She was a girl from Newark who went to church and could sing like no one anyone had ever heard. Robyn saw that immediately. What she also saw, and what she has written about with honesty and care, was someone she connected with in a way she had never experienced before. The friendship became everything. Over the years that followed, Robyn became the one constant in Whitney's life. Not a manager, not a label executive, a person. She was there before the world knew Whitney's name. She joined Whitney's professional team, eventually becoming her creative director. But her role was never just professional. She was the person Whitney called, the person Whitney trusted, the last line between the woman the world saw and the woman who actually existed. For 20 years, she held that position. She never broke it. In A Little Thing Called Love, Robyn wrote about the nature of their early relationship with quiet honesty. She described a closeness that went beyond friendship, a bond that formed in those early years in New Jersey. She did not frame it as a secret she had been forced to keep. She framed it as something real, something genuine, something she had carried with dignity for 40 years. She was not angry in those pages. She was careful. She wanted the truth told correctly, on her terms, in her words. Whitney's decision about how to handle their relationship was shaped by 3 things: her faith, her family, and her career. She had grown up in the church. She was about to become one of the most visible women in the world. In her conversations with Robyn, she was honest about what she felt and honest about what she believed she could not make public. She asked Robyn to understand. According to Robyn, she did. The privacy was kept. For decades, not a single word. As Whitney's career took off in the mid-1980s, Robyn was there. Through the first album, the second, through the Grammy nominations and the wins, through the tours, the press, and the scrutiny of an industry that had decided Whitney Houston was perfect. She moved from friend to personal assistant to creative director, always present, always trusted. People inside Whitney's world were aware of their bond. They simply did not discuss it publicly. Neither did Robyn. The years of Whitney's greatest success, The Bodyguard, I Will Always Love You, the Super Bowl performance, were years when Robyn remained close. She watched Whitney manage the pressure and the expectations of a world that had placed her on a height no one could comfortably sustain. She also watched the private person navigate what the public version of Whitney Houston was becoming. The gap between those 2 women, Robyn saw it forming, long before anyone else admitted it was there. Bobby Brown entered Whitney's life in 1989. They married in 1992. Robyn's account of this period is measured. She does not portray him as a villain, but she is honest about what changed. Whitney's world shifted. The people around her shifted. Robyn's access and influence diminished. The woman she had known since 1980, before the records, before the world, was increasingly surrounded by a different set of voices. And some of those voices did not trust Robyn Crawford. Through the 1990s and into the early 2000s, Robyn watched with growing concern. She has written about attempting to maintain their connection, to be present for her friend. She described moments of trying to address what she was witnessing. The changes in Whitney, the isolation, the things she was afraid to name directly. But there were limits to what she could do from where she stood, and those limits were closing in around the only person she had ever seen Whitney truly listen to. By the early 2000s, Robyn was no longer part of Whitney's inner circle. The exact circumstances are not documented in a single clear account. What is clear is that she was gone. The woman who had been Whitney's closest friend, her creative director, her constant for 20 years, was outside. She gave no press interviews. She made no public statements. She disappeared from Whitney's public life as quietly as she had always operated within it. She kept her word completely. For the years that followed, through Whitney's public struggles, her attempted comeback, the Nothing But Love tour, Robyn Crawford watched from a distance. She has said she was aware of what was happening. She has said she was afraid. She has also said there came a point when the path back to Whitney was no longer open to her. The friendship that had defined both of their lives had become unreachable. She waited. She hoped. She stayed silent. On February 11, 2012, Whitney Houston died. Robyn Crawford did not speak publicly. She gave no interviews. She did not appear in the news coverage that followed. She grieved privately, the way she had always kept her most important things. The world that had never fully understood what Robyn meant to Whitney moved on to the next headline. Robyn stayed with what she knew and with what she had lost. In the years after Whitney's death, the documentaries came, the biopics, the tributes and retrospectives. Each one reconstructed Whitney Houston's life from what the cameras had captured. The performances, the interviews, the tabloid years. Robyn Crawford watched. She has said the versions being told were incomplete. Important things were missing. The woman she knew, the real woman, before the world got to her, was not fully present in any of them. In 2019, 7 years after Whitney's death, Robyn published A Little Thing Called Love. The decision, she has said, was not easy. She had spent decades honoring Whitney's wish for privacy. What changed was her belief that the full truth, told by someone who had actually lived it, was more respectful to Whitney's memory than continued silence. She did not write the book for attention. She wrote it, she has said, because Whitney deserved to be known as she actually was. The book gave Whitney Houston something no documentary, no biopic, and no tribute had managed to give her: a private life, a real one, with real love in it. It confirmed what some had always believed and what others had refused to consider. And it did something quieter and more important than all of that. It gave Whitney back her full humanity. Not the voice, not the legend, not the tragedy, the person. The girl from New Jersey who loved someone deeply, asked her to keep it secret, and was loved completely in return.